welcome to 5 Gold Rings. I said I wasn't going to sing again, but there you go. You can't resist it, can you? And in honour of 5 gold rings, I'm wearing my absolutely, I would say, favourite leisure make of 2020, my ochre ultra cheap fabric Gaby top. It is just so super comfy. I will link it in the description box below. Here it is, Le Loop de Cada. I'm not the best at describing it. I'm going to bring it in here to save me having to drop the picture in. But there it is. It is just the easiest and most comfortable of wears. What I did do when I made it was I added a little bit of extra, so I got some hip coverage. Now then, I have just spent what seems like an eternity. I'm going to spin round so you can see me with the bunting. I've just spent an age looking on the internet, buying patterns and things. So what I've done is I've bought some bits to make little embroideries on the infills. So I've got my sashing, bars, strips, whatever you want to call them. And then you have a little square. And in the little squares, I wanted to put something. So I'm going to set the machine going for 5 gold rings, and the camera will be obviously pointing at the machine, but then in the background hopefully you'll be able to see me trying to start cutting some bars and blocks out, and I will show you how those are assembling together slowly and steadily. See you very shortly. I think I might start with the little infills if I can find out what I've done with my memory stick. It is next to the front door, because I've just had some post. And as you know, this is about running as well. And my dog harnesses broke. I think I might have mentioned when I was out, when I was talking to you, that when I was out with Rachel running last week, one of the dog harnesses broke. Hold on a minute, I'll show you. But as we were running, along the side of a main road, not a main road, but a busier road, Rachel noticed this go, and she literally ran forward and grabbed Poppy. And what's happened is, if I flip the camera around, I'll show you. A piece of paracord should be intact, and what happened was that they completely frayed and broke. And this harness is so old, and the dogs used to have on it a tummy strap that went round their stomachs as well. So this bit goes underneath them, on their chests, and then it had another bit that went round, and it went round and caught the backs of their legs, and they didn't like it. So I took the tummy straps off and thought, I'm just going to wait, because one of the others has been showing some signs of wear, and I put a knot in it quicker than I did with this one. And I waited and waited and waited, and when they finally broke, I decided I would get the newer version of the same make. And I bought, they now do what they call the Dragaton crossback. So it crosses on their backs as so, and it's along their body. This is the Dragaton Multisport, which just goes across the top of the body, but it doesn't have the cross. So the cross, this has got nothing that goes underneath their tummies on the backs of their legs, because as you can see, little miss down there doesn't really like it. She's sitting there, looking very elegant with her crossed paws down there. You've got your crossed paws, Maggie. You've got crossed paws. And last night, as you know, I went running with Rachel, and you'll have seen me poking the camera through the window. I'm not going to say any more. It's not my place to say any more than that. You will have to wait and see. I know she's filming what she's doing, but when we were out running, I had a little slip, and I have pulled my bad ankle again. So I don't think today I'll be going out at all, because we have got a little bit of snow. So I'm going to put the camera down now. I'm going to set the machine going. I'll pop you on the time lapse, and we'll just see where we go from there. It was a traumatic afternoon. I had a FaceTime with a mate, so I paused 5 gold rings, came back to it and discovered that the tension wasn't quite right. So I sorted it out, had to redo it. Got the tension right on the wording now, but the bottom tension kept telling me that the thread had broken. But here we have 5 gold rings. Now then, what I'm about to do now, I have done a little bit. Let me just do some more of this cutting out so you can see what it is that I'm doing down here. Now, I got this spot on right yesterday evening. So I've started to cut out some of the squares. So I have 2 turtle doves so far, and I have the partridge in a pear tree. So I'm just going to cut out a couple more. As you can see, I've put my hair in a couple of clips because it's starting to annoy me. Now, I'm having cut out those first squares using my template. I've decided that my sashing is going to be 3 inches wide, which means that in between the sashings there will be a square that I can do a 3-inch square, and I have an idea for that. Now then, what I've sourced to go in the little squares, I'm sure they have a special name, but I can't remember what it is. I have got some red work embroidery, and I've got some poinsettias. Now, rather sadly, this one's coming up green. I think that's more poinsettia leaves, and I wanted to do them all in red, and I certainly don't want to. Is to back there. Thanks, Maggie, we don't need a growl. Now, I'm missing some images here, and I don't know what the images are that I'm missing, so I will go back onto the company quite a bit. So let's bring it down. Oops, we don't want to take it on that one, do we? We want to bring it down a little bit, and it hasn't layered it up, so we'll have to, there, we'll take it down to that one and see what happens. We'll pop it up there, and we'll go back into here, and I'm going to now just stop talking to you as I put on a couple of nice designs onto this particular page. Just double check the size on that one. Let's take it a bit bigger again. No, I was taking it to the side. We don't want it to take it to the side. We want to make it bigger. I think that's about as big as I can take it. That's definitely about as big as I can take it. 24. Right, there, I've done a little bit of cutting out and prepared some bars. I've got bars and squares prepared here, and I've got the embroidery. I don't know how many more of you do this, but I needed to write a plan. There's my little plan. It's on the back of this because this is what I need to get, but I think some of the other stabilizer that I have in will actually do the job at the moment. Now, I do not have enough of the beautiful red fabric to do what we want to do. And it's just going to be a very unfortunate situation in that I'm not going to be able to access enough of that to complete all the sashing and the bars and the binding in that particular fabric. But it's not that I don't have any Christmas fabric, she says, pushing it all to the edge of the table. And when it comes to the binding around the edge, I may very well just go and buy some red binding. Now, we have this one here. This is the 12 Days of Christmas one. And let me see how far I can lay this out so that you can see what it is that I'm thinking of trying to achieve. I just don't want that to fall on the floor because it'll make a great big crashing noise if it does. I'm now putting all the weight on this foot that I hurt yesterday. Now my thought was that I would go for the green around the edge of the quilt and have something completely different around the edge. I'm going to overlap very slightly so that you can get a good idea of what it is that we want to do. Now I have got these little embroidered squares and it's all red work and they're all going to be different, but I need 8 of them. So far I have just done 2 for laying out purposes. So we've got the red poinsettia and we've got a poinsettia on its own. They're all going to be different. Oops. But I know exactly what I need by way of, I think my front doorbell's going to ring in a minute. I think the Amazon man might have just arrived. I think he's coming here today. Where's the partridge in? Here it is. Here's our partridge in a pear tree. I have measured this. They're all the right length. I've been very accurate in my measurements. And I do hope that what I'm thinking of doing is starting to make some kind of sense. Now my thoughts were to put the grey with the red work embroidery, bring it forward a little bit, is to put the grey with the red work embroidery into the middle of the piece of work. And then we'd have 4 calling birds, which I've managed to, here they are. I'm not going to be able to go quite the way across, I don't think, today to try and show you. I'm trying to push more and more and more of it onto the table. But I'm hoping that you can see what it is I'm trying to, 5 gold rings would go there. 3 French hens would go there. Now let me come behind and see. Can you see what it is I'm trying to achieve? So we've got red with a grey square and red work embroidery, and then on the outside we've just got green and a very simple pale, sort of like a grey marlish. It's like a reddy grey colour, but I think it picks out quite nicely. If I look through here, it does pick the whole thing out quite nicely. But our 3 main ones, which are 12 Days of Christmas, the wreath, and My True Love Came to Me, will be surrounded by the embroidery. I think it's going to turn into a very small quilted tablecloth. It's actually great fun, isn't it? Because looking at it like that, it's just not at all. I mean, I did have an idea of what I was wanting to do when I actually did this. Sorry, I've got the television on in the background. But when I was doing this, I got some kind of idea of what I wanted to achieve. But I think it's far surpassed where I thought I would be going. And at that point, I think I will call today to an end. I'm going to sit down in my living room and I'm going to knit this evening. I do like a little bit of knitting, probably more so in the winter than in the summer, and I do like to knit some Scandinavian patterns. Now, I have said this is running sewing life, and knitting comes under life because I find knitting is the best way for me to get ultra peace and quiet. When I became ill with mental health issues many years ago, my first counsellor said, if knitting relaxes you, have knitting. I have knitting. So, thank you very much for joining me. Again, the comments, the support, the advice, brilliant. You're amazing. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Maybe, just maybe, this gorilla tripod and I are going to have a little bit of getting used to, because if I hold it out and the leg goes wobbly, the whole thing goes down. I have ordered today from David Drummond's the 97D patchwork foot for my sewing machine, along with some quilting needles and some quilting cotton. I'm committed now. I've not done a quilt for ages, and suddenly I've got what seems to be like a 15 block quilt. Let's see what happens. I think it could describe it as being a little table covering. I'm going to have to go. And on that note, thank you so much. I've got Amazon at the door. See you tomorrow. Bye.